Thank you. Thank you, Melody. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that introduction. And obviously, thank you to the Organic Trade Association for having me here and giving me this honor of talking to you and letting you know what's going on in that big white dome out that window right there. It is always a good opportunity when I get to leave that hill, get out of the swamp and come talk about the farm and be able to talk about something, unlike politics, that actually makes people smile. And a couple of those things, obviously, are my home on the Central Coast, its agriculture, and of course, our organics. As you heard, I do represent the 20th Congressional District, which is located on the Central Coast of California. And you will see, you will hear throughout my remarks, and if you know me, you understand this, I am very, very proud of where I come from for a number of reasons. I've always been able to call that place my home. And my roots, they do run very, very deep there on the Central Coast of California. My grandfather, an Italian immigrant, came to that area back in the 1930s. He ran a restaurant, raised his two boys with my grandmother up on a place which was known back then, and as it is now, if you're Italian, as Spaghetti Hill. He made enough money to buy a small plot of land, about 12 acres worth, out in Carmel Valley, where he planted a bunch of walnut trees. I was fortunate that my mother and father decided to raise my two brothers and myself on that same walnut ranch. Now, I'll admit I'm not a farmer, but I think my father getting our butts out there every weekend and making us paint the trunks and prune the trees and sometimes pick the walnuts gave us a good sense of what it takes to be stewards of the land when it comes to agriculture. And fortunately, my wife and I now raise our two daughters just 2 miles down the road from that ranch in Carmel Valley. They attend the same schools that I do. And then last week, I was able to watch my daughter play softball on the same Little League field that I did when I was a kid. It's great. It makes me very proud of that. It also makes me proud because I know they're going to have the same sense of belonging to that area as I did. Because I hope that they have the same sense of service to that area as I do. And part of the reason I developed that sense of service is, yes, I grew up there, but also we were always told the reason for why my grandfather came here, basically to give his children a better life. And we were always told, because you were allowed to live the reality of that dream, the American dream, then you damn well better give back to the country and community that gave you so much. So that is why I served as a prosecutor, as an officer in the U.S. Navy in Afghanistan, and fortunately, one of my greatest jobs, I feel, at least in the few months into it, being a U.S. representative for that area. I'm very proud of that. So I believe that no matter where I grew up, I would have served. But I have to say I do it with a huge, huge smile, being from the Central Coast of California and representing the place that I call home. Yes, as you heard from Melody, yes, you know this if you've been there, it is one of the most beautiful districts in the nation. But it's also one of the most bountiful with its agriculture. I mean, why do you think in my district I get to have places such as the garlic capital of the world, Gilroy, the artichoke capital of the world, Castroville, and of course, as you know, many of you know, the salad bowl of the world, the Salinas Valley. We have quantity, we have quality, but we also have diversity. We grow more variety of crops than any other single state. You name it, we pretty much grow it. We fill the shelves of your grocery stores, from Safeways to Walmarts to Save Marts, from the new juice bars that are popping up everywhere to the salad bars, not only in your cafeteria, but more importantly, I believe, in your daughter and your sons and daughters' cafeterias. As I see it, the Central Coast, its growers, its shippers, its pickers, and its packers, their job is to provide our nation with some of the most nutritious food out there. Yes, that's a great responsibility, but it also provides a great opportunity for our Central Coast farmers not just to become economic leaders in agriculture, but become innovative producers, especially when it comes to our organic agriculture. Now, the Central Coast as many of you may believe, and I believe, it is the birthplace of organics. Now, I know there's some controversy over that, and a lot of people, claim that title. But I mean, come on. We have a lot of agriculture, and let me tell you, we have the progressive politics of Santa Cruz, where it started. That combination made it fertile for organics. Starting in the 1960s, farmers in Santa Cruz started experimenting with a lot of things, as well as agriculture. But they used many of the same organic methods that are used today in small plots of land, in backyards in downtown Santa Cruz, and even in garages. And in 1965, along came UC Santa Cruz. It was founded. And students there started farming right on campus. They created the Farm and Garden Center, which is now known as the Center for Agroecology and Sustainable Food Systems. It is a place where generations of organic farmers and gardeners were trained. Now, one of those people, and I didn't know he was going to be here today, but one of those people was Mark Lipson. Now, early on, Mark understood the economic and health benefits of organics. And by the late 1980s, Mark worked hard, tirelessly, with my predecessor, Congressman Sam Farr, to create and pass the California Organic Standards Act. That not only set the standards for the production and selling of organic agriculture in California, clearly it paved the way for the National Organic Program. Since then, my district has grown to be one of the most prolific areas in organic production. We have over 430 organic producers, making it the 5th leading district for organic production. Now, I believe this didn't just occur. We didn't attain that status just by default. I believe we got there because of our demeanor, our progressive thinking, our hard work, the understanding of what it takes to be stewards of the land. And most importantly, I believe people in agriculture, no matter what type, people in agriculture are willing to take risks. They're willing to pivot to survive. They're willing to adapt in order to succeed. And I learned that not from my time growing up on the Walnut Farm. I have to admit, I learned that when I was fortunate enough to take an ag knowledge class through the Santa Cruz County Farm Bureau. And I got to, literally from the first day, from the first class, when we went out to a farm. And I was a prosecutor before I became a Congress member. And as a prosecutor, I have to tell you, you go to work every day, you show up, and there's going to be a police report on your desk. The work comes to you. But with people with agriculture, they have to constantly go to the work. They have to pivot to succeed. They have to adapt to survive. And that's important. And one of the best examples for me, in that class, I was able to do a day on a farm with him, is a gentleman by the name of Dickie Peixoto, who many of you might know. He was a grandson of Portuguese immigrants that settled in Watsonville. They took up farming, and that's how Dickie grew up. He is, in my knowledge of Dickie, he's the type of person that doesn't just have dirt under his fingernails, he has dirt in his blood, soil in his blood. He told me about how when he was growing up playing Little League, he wasn't worried about the stats of other players. He was worried about the stats of what it took to grow string beans that he started off in. And this is somebody who has pivoted, He went from string beans, he went from fertilizer, he went to irrigation systems, he went to laser leveling fields, to conventional farming, and now to organics. And Dickie just didn't succeed, but his company, Lakeside Organic Gardens, is now the largest family-owned, solely organic grower-shipper in the entire United States. Dickie did what his grandparents did. He took that risk to pivot in his life, to pivot in his country, not only to survive, but he did it with great economic success. I believe that more people in government should realize that there are people like Dickie and people like all of you. People in government should recognize the risk-taking that's necessary to succeed in agriculture, to succeed in organic agriculture. We should try to reward, we should try to support those people for that risk-taking and, yes, for your success. That is why I do enjoy my work on the Ag Committee in that big white building up there. especially when it comes to our work, which we've been doing to put together the 2018 Farm Bill so that we can ensure that your industry is supported. Crafting the Farm Bill, especially coming up, there's no doubt it's going to be challenging, especially what we saw yesterday with that budget that came out that included cutting the National Organic Program and completely cutting funds for the transition and cost-sharing programs that it entails. The good thing is that that is only a proposal, and the better thing is that I know the people on the Ag Committee. I know the people who work in that White Dome, and both Republicans and Democrats who will join me to fight to protect those programs. Those people understand the need for investments in organic research, including science-based methods that improve soil health, the management of pest and disease, and ways to increase productivity. You know that federal research investments do not match organics' market share at this point. That is not only a disservice to our organic producers, but it is a loss for our local economies. That is why, as you heard Melody mention, why earlier this month, I proudly partnered with a Republican Congressman, Dan Newhouse of Washington, and Democratic Congresswoman, Sherry Penegry of Maine, on the bill that would raise the USDA's Organic Agriculture Research Extension Initiative, OREI, from $20 million to $50 million. It is why I also co-sponsored the CREATE bill that focuses on expanding the market access program and would provide new opportunities for U.S. producers by helping them with tools they need to retain their competitive edge in our global economy. In order for those programs that I mentioned to be successful, in order for organics research to be successful, those efforts clearly must be funded. Unfortunately, the Agriculture and Food Research Initiative accounts for only 0.2% of AFRI's budget. Clearly, the U.S. Department of Agriculture must increase investments in organic research. Such an increase won't detract from conventional production efforts, but instead, as you know, it will expand your toolbox to strengthen our organic production, and it will allow you to make improvements in innovation and sustainability. More people need to know this. More people in Congress need to understand this. That is why I have partnered with Republican Rodney Davis from Illinois to create the Agricultural Research Caucus, a caucus that we can use to educate and engage other members of Congress on issues related to agricultural research, innovation, mechanization, and of course, the organic industry. Clearly, that's a personal focus of mine, but I believe that others need to be made aware of your efforts, your risks in our organics. Look, there's no doubt that we are a nation of risk takers. People like my grandfather, people like all of you who are willing to take risks to give not only our children a better life, but our children healthier lives. The quality of risk-taking, I believe that's a backbone, not only of our nation, but of people in agriculture. That quality is in each of you who took the risk to be involved with organics. That is why, as a representative in Congress, as a member of the Agricultural Committee, and as someone whose home is on the Central Coast, I will always take the risks necessary to support all of you and to support organic agriculture. And I believe that in doing that, we support the future of agriculture, we support the future of organics, and yes, we support the future of this nation. Thank you very much. Please sit. Please. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. I'm very humbled by that. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you had about anything. Obviously, not just my work on the Ag Committee, not just my interest in organics, but my time as a freshman member as well, if you can imagine. Or not.
Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate your support and being a champion for organic food and agriculture. My question relates to the upcoming farm bill.
Yeah.
And, as an organic farmer, one of the biggest things that puts us at a disadvantage is the current policies and status of highly subsidized crop insurance. So my question to you is, what can we do in the next farm bill to shift the disincentives that exist within that program that disadvantage specialty crop production and organic production at the, while they're propping up unsustainable non-organic production, particularly in row crops and grain production?
Yeah. Look, I mean, as you know, the four biggest parts of the Farm Bill obviously are SNAP, conservation, crop insurance, and the other one is, it just escaped me. But crop insurance is one of the biggest parts of it, okay? And it's funny, because being from the Central Coast, Colin Peterson, the ranking member from Minnesota, he came up to me and said, well, you guys have crop insurance on the Central Coast, don't you? And I had to think about it. We don't at all. We don't deal with that at all. But clearly, other parts of the country do. And a significant part of the country does. And so it's how do we compete with that? Look, in the Farm Bill, that's going to be a part of it. Okay, I think you have to understand that. Traditionally, it's been a part of it. It's going to continue being a part of it. Obviously, I'm biased from what I see on the Central Coast. The fact that our farmers are out there every day without it, and they depend on the markets rather than the government in order to make money. And so it's something where you're not going to find me pushing for it, but I have to work with other people on the Farm Bill in order to get the necessary funding for certain research initiatives that I believe will help not only specialty crops on the Central Coast, but of course organic agriculture on the Central Coast. And so that's what I'll do. I can't say much more than that in regards to your question. I apologize.
Your support of obviously farming and organic farming specifically. You had mentioned in the president's budget cuts to cost share, and I assume you're talking about transitional cost share, or are you talking about the organic certification cost share program, which has always had a target on its back, it feels like, and has been so vital to keeping smaller scale operators, in the marketplace and able to continue their businesses?
Yeah, it was the latter, unfortunately. I mean, that's, that budget pretty much includes cutting everything that we know of, it seems like, unfortunately, in sacrifice for obviously a stronger defense and then cutting the deficit, at least according to him, in, I think, 10, 20 years. But it's not worth it. And fortunately, if you're reading the reports and my conversations with not just Democrats, but Republican members, that budget is a no-go at this point because they understand people are actually on the ground talking to their constituents, realize that you cannot cut things like Medicaid, Social Security, and other essentials that people need to survive in this country. And so, like I said in my remarks, it's a blueprint. It's unfortunate that that's the way that the administration would like to go, but fortunately you have Democrats and Republicans who are going to fight them not only for the areas that you talked about, but for other essential areas that I believe our country and the people in this nation rely on.
And if I could just ask a quick follow-up, the National Organic Program had a cut in its proposed budget as well, not as substantial as other things, SNAP obviously, or conservation funding, but in a time that the program really struggles just to keep up with the ever-growing market and sector, and we've had stories on the Washington Post front page about the authenticity of imports. It would seem like that the program needs more money, not cuts, and as does the whole sector in terms of research, et cetera.
Of course. Of course, I think every single person in this room understands that. Many people in our nation understand that, not just with the cuts to organics, but with the cuts to many of the areas that he wants. But you know what we're dealing with this person in the White House, and it's going to take constant pushback. And one of the things that I have to say, if I may digress real quick, is that, look, with this administration, one of the few bright lines I feel is that you're seeing our checks and balances working. Okay, you're seeing our courts push back on him. You're seeing Congress push back on him, And that's what's going to need to continue to be done, all right? The unfortunate thing is that when does it get to a point where the presidency starts to lose its value? Because this gentleman is challenging the courts, challenging Congress to, on certain areas. And they're stepping up to that challenge, which is a good thing. But it not only hurts his status, it hurts the presidency status. And right now, we have a Congress whose popularity is not that high as well. We have a Congress whose credibility is not that high, okay? People saw the dysfunction, and that is why we are left with the situation that we have in the White House, I believe. And my worry is that now, we have a Congress that lacks credibility. You have a presidency that lacks credibility. That's the problem, and that's what scares the heck out of me. And I believe that it's our job in Congress to bring back that credibility, okay? Yes, if that means investigating him with a bipartisan committee, but at the same time, it takes Democrats and Republicans coming together on areas like we talked about, but more importantly, making sure that we come together and get something done, okay? I can tell you that my freshman class, the Republicans and Democrats, when we started to get to know each other, finally, after we were able to come together, we actually realized that we heard a lot of the same things. And the number one thing I heard, and the number one thing that they heard on the campaign trail in my election last year, was you need to get up there, and you need to get something done, and you need to do it together. Okay, I can tell you right now that there's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of issues that are politically sensitive. But I can also tell you that as my good friend Drew Ferguson, a Republican from Georgia, very Republican from Georgia, told me, he said, look, Jimmy, let's get through this silly season, and we can get to a point where we can get something done. And I'm telling you right now, it's our ability to develop these personal relationships that I believe will lead us to professionally get something done once we get through this season, okay? And that's what we're going to continue to do. I'm not just saying that. And I believe I'm not just naive about this as a freshman member. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that from the younger members in Congress because they're feeling it and they're hearing it from their constituents as we should be.
Congressman Panetta, thanks so much for being here. So I grew up in your district, and when I graduated from Santa Cruz High, your dad gave me my diploma. So
great.
Shout out to him,
Great
guy. And if you're half the man he is, I know you're great too.
I got the nose, so.
It's all in the nose.
Let's hope so.
And you're right. It's pretty clear that the things you're working on, the things you've talked today about, are very aligned with the needs of the district and the interests of the people in your district, and you're representing them well with the bills that you've sponsored and co-sponsored. I left Santa Cruz years ago, and now I live in Texas, and a lot of the work we do is in the Midwest. And tomorrow, we're all heading over to that swamp, as you referred to it, to talk to congressmen and senators from those areas about this agenda.
Good.
And I'm wondering if you could shed some light on the barriers you face when you're sharing that agenda and trying to influence other members. What's the attitude, what's the response, and what are we walking into tomorrow?
Yeah, no, that's an understandable question. Look, I think, I'm gonna base my response on my time in the Agriculture Committee. I love being on the Ag Committee. It was my first choice. I was chosen for it, and I truly enjoy attending the hearings, talking to the other members, hearing about the other members, hearing about their concerns, because to me, that's our country. You get to hear about everything that that they represent throughout this country. I love it. And what you realize, though, is they feel the same way about every other member. They are interested in protecting and promoting agriculture on the Ag Committee. And so when I talk about, a specialty research crop initiative, not just for pest and disease control, but for mechanization, they get it. When I talk about how on the Central Coast, look, even despite the fact that we endured a 5-year drought in California excluding this year, that wasn't the number one issue. The number one issue was labor. And the number one issue is immigration reform. They get that on the Ag Committee because, California is not the biggest H-2A state. North Carolina is. And so they understand how important immigration is. I think they're going to have an empathy for what you discuss with them. to be honest with you. Now, mind you, they are going to be, as I am, proud of where they come from. They are going to be protective of the agriculture in their area. So that's obviously going to be there. But the great thing about the people that I've come across on the Ag Committee is that there is that understanding of what's important to you, especially when it comes to your local agriculture. So that's a huge door that's unlocked for you to go up there and talk to those people. And I'm sure you're hitting people on, I would imagine, people on the Ag Committee. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would hope you're hitting people on the Ag Committee, people who understand that. I mean, look, I heard you ask the last speaker about Sonny Perdue. I didn't know Sonny Perdue, but I was fortunate enough to sit in a hearing where we came and addressed the Ag Committee for about 3-4 hours. And I have to tell you, I was pretty damn impressed with his knowledge of all the subjects that he was asked about. Of course, the two areas that I hit him on were one, immigration, and two, research. And he seemed to be very positive when it comes to those areas. I believe that, like I said, immigration, Congress has failed us, again, when it comes to immigration, okay? The last time we passed immigration reform, as many of you know, was 1986. And I believe that that's left us in the position that we're at. On top of the political climate that's changed in the United States, on top of the socioeconomic climate that's changed in Mexico, we're dealing with a shrinking and aging workforce, okay? That needs to be addressed. And I believe the more we talk about it, as that's why I wanted to bring it up with with Secretary Perdue, the more I think Donald Trump is going to hear us, especially considering that he uses H-2A workers in his vineyards in Virginia, especially that he uses H-2B workers in his hotels. So as Sonny Perdue said, as Lindsey Graham told me earlier, I do believe that Donald Trump's heart is there on immigration. We got to get his head there. And you talk to them about economics. And I think that's the same thing that you do with your Congress members. You talk to them about agriculture. You talk to them about things they understand. And I can tell you, if you talk to members who come from ag districts, they're going to understand you. They're going to have empathy for you, but also understand that they have agriculture that they're going to want to protect as well. Whatever.
Hi, I'm a grower from Washington State, and my congressman is Congressman Newhouse, so thank you so much for the work that you're doing. We really do appreciate it. I think the thing that we're struggling with, which we work with a lot of our growers in our area, bringing them into the organic market. We were conventional farmers, and we've been organic over 10 years now. So is regulation. We had no idea that our number one issue would be struggling to follow the laws, some of them named, some of them not named. We're even getting into a place of concern and I can even say fear because of what's happening with the targeting with the FDA for FESMA. So we believe in food safety, we support food safety, we want it to continue, but in some form that maybe we can manage it. So I would ask, one thing is to really go back and can we get some help with handling the regulation?
Yeah, no, look, you are definitely not the first person from agriculture that's talked to me about regulation, okay? I hear you. I understand that. It's interesting. It was funny, when I was out on the farm with Dickie, I'll never forget this, because he was taking me out and he was showing all his success in his fields and going through. I said, Dickie, I go, you're showing me all the good things. I go, I want to see the bad things. Tell me what the worst thing is about being someone in your position. And of course he said, regulation, okay? And if you've been to talk to anybody from California, obviously they deal with regulation, not just from the government, but they got hit hard from regulation with the state, especially, the minimum wage, the overtime, and the piecemeal rate last year. It's kind of a troika that they got slapped with. And so they're feeling the same way you are. And there's a couple aspects to it. One is the people I talk to say, look, you can give me regulation. I'm fine with the rules. Just keep them the same. Keep them consistent. And I think that's important. I think there has to be consistency rather than an overburdensome and the double regulations that come down from your state and your government. There's got to be an understanding there. And the more that Congress members talk to you, the more that you talk to your members and let them know that, as well as with the state representatives, we should be working to make them consistent, to make them not as burden. I can completely agree with you. But once again, the thing that amazes me is that, once it gets back to my theory about people in agriculture, is that they're constantly willing to take risks, be it Mother Nature, be it the government mandates, or be it the markets. They constantly pivot. And I've talked to people, and Bruce Taylor, as many of you know from Taylor Farms, one of the things he said to me was, look, you can give me all the rules you want. I'll get by them. But it's the smaller farmers who are going to get hurt. It's the family farmers, the smaller family farmers, who won't be able to pivot like I can. And that's what more people need to hear. More people in Congress need to hear that. More people in our state houses need to realize that, and obviously have more empathy and understanding for people like you when it comes to the regulations. Good? Whatever. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.